Hey, this is Blastzone Mike, and today or tonight, wherever it is you are, my guest is Richardson. How you doing?
Doing great.
This is a great joy to be able to talk to you. Like I was telling you before we come on, um, They Live was like is my favorite movie of all time. Every time I watch that damn movie, I hope for a different ending.
Oh yeah?
I know there's not another ending to it, but I always hope. You always got to have hope.
Right.
That Roddy Piper gets it. The girl don't scream over. It's like, oh my God, can we just make it positive? But it never comes that way.
Right.
Um, I imagine that was many, many movies later in your career, though, right?
Yeah, it was.
So let's just kind of go back to the beginning, okay? What was it that made you want to be an actor? What was that defining moment in your life? Who did you see, or who was it that made you want to become an actor?
I graduated from junior college in Chicago and with a full scholarship. And I had five schools that wanted me. I went to Omaha and the music department burned down and the library. So the closest one was Colorado. So I went to Boulder, Colorado. Got to Boulder, Colorado. I majored in journalism advertising.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we started the first Black newspaper on campus, and then some young people wanted to start the first Black theater company. They were
Oh,
doing a play called No Place to Be Somebody. They needed a 65-year-old Black guy. The closest to that 65-year-old was me. I was 32.
oh,
So I did that play and had fun, did a couple more for them. And during the summer, I did plays with uh, theater in Denver, Colorado. So
mm-hmm.
after I graduated from college, I took a job working for the Royal Sun newspaper. So an ad, they were looking for an actor, singer at a place called Heritage Square Opera House in Golden, Colorado. Since I was just out of school and joined, I tried it out. I got it. I stayed with them a year and a half. We did a show in St. Louis, Missouri on the Goldenrod Showboat. We got there in July. The show ended in October. So the three of us that were from Golden, Colorado was trying to figure out what we're going to do. And I said, well, either I'm going to New York and try theater, go back to Chicago and get me a job at the newspaper. And it started to snow. So I said, well, I'm going to California and be a character actor. That's how I got here.
And when did you? What was the first movie that you ended up being in?
First movie I did was a film called Cinderella. It was a softcore porn film. I, I didn't even know it was a softcore porn film until after I booked it. I got on the set that first day. I walked to the elevator, pushed the button, the elevator door opened, and there were 6 naked women in the elevator.
Oh my goodness!
And I did half shot, so I tried my best to look no farther than their neck down. And,
so, so you had to go on with the movie, right?
oh yeah. Other interesting thing about that, I got here December 16th of 1976. I had the second lead in my feature January 16th of 1977. So 30 days later, I was doing Cinderella.
Oh wow! Now, that's your first time acting in a movie. How was it? I mean, talk about going from the lake to the frying pan, and seeing 6 naked women. Were you just like, oh, look at this, honey, what I look like, or was it like, oh crap, what did I get myself into?
Neither. I got the film and I realized that as a young man, what interests me were beautiful women. You're always looking for a beautiful woman, not one to hold on to, just one to borrow for a while. And here I am in this film, loaded with beautiful women. And I had to ask myself, what did I come to California to do? Did I come to California to play, or did I come to California to be in the movie business?
Mhm.
So I said I came to be in the movie business. So I didn't touch, I didn't ask any of them out. I stayed away from the young girls in the movie because I came to be a movie actor. Yeah. And so that was my test.
Shoot, if I was a good looking black man in that time period and all them women, I'd be like, Chef who? Wait, what? Chef who? or Dolomite who? You know?
No, the director one day looked at me and he says, "See those 6 women over there?" I said, "Yeah." So go pick one and take her home for the weekend. And I wouldn't do it. I wasn't going to allow anything to get in my way of being a character actor.
You didn't want nothing to come back. Even in 1976, or did you say 77? I'm
77.
sorry, 77. There was no paparazzi. There was no people taking pictures. The only people getting pictures took of were like big famous guys like Elvis, who passed away that year, or the Beatles coming back and forth, or whoever's famous. You still had the mindset that something could get back to somebody later in my life, right?
No, I had the mindset that I was blessed to be able to come to California with no training as a film actor to get a movie in 30 days. Then that means that my job is to be a movie actor, not to be chasing girls. I've been chasing girls for 30 years. So, that wasn't important to me. What was important is having a career where I can make a living as an actor.
So now we're in 2020. Do you feel like you made a living being an actor?
I've been making movies since, like I say, since 77. Yeah.
Wow.
And I made over 100 movies. I wrote a film script called Posse, a Black Western. I've written 5 books. My last one is called...
Wait. You wrote the movie Posse?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was based on my grandfather's.
Wow. And that's a big accomplishment. That was a huge movie.
Yeah.
And it had huge actors of that time period in it.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's back up before Posse though. So when was it that you knew that you made it? What movie was it that you knew that you made it?
Repo Man.
Repo Man. Great
Yeah.
movie. Great movie.
I was in New York doing a film called Nocturna, and the lead of that film did an extra the next day with a soap opera, and I asked him, "How could you leave this movie and go do an extra in a soap opera?" He says, "Because I'm an actor." So when I got back to California, I got a call from an agent and from a casting director, and she needed someone to be an extra in a student film at UCLA. And so thinking about what he said, I told her I would do it. So I go on the set to do this extra job. One of the principal actors didn't show up. So she asked me if I would do it. So I improv that scene. There was 2 directors there, college guys.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing 7 films for one and 3 films for the other one. If I hadn't have done that background job, I'd have never got the chance to meet the 2 of them, and my career was off. And one of them did film Repo Man, Alex Cox.
That's a wild story because I feel like that everything happens for a reason, in life, and you try not to turn down anything. And I think a lot of people get so jaded when it comes to doing things that they're like, if you wouldn't have had that guy tell you, why did you leave the movie to go be an extra? You probably would have never done that because you would have never, it's the drive of people that makes them who they are, is what I'm trying to say. And, to be in Repo Man, which was much a bigger movie later on, and They Live, which was a bigger movie later on, all those movies, I mean, you're known for that, for They Live, for being that one person in it.
Yeah.
And it's a very pivotal role, even though it's not a huge role, it's a pivotal role in it. And how did you get They Live? Had you worked with that director, those people before, or?
My agent called me and said, "Cy, do you know John Carpenter?" I said, "I know who he is. I've never met him." He said, "Well, he just offered you a role in a film called They Live." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And that's how I got it. I didn't audition.
Did you think it would be as big as it is today when you were making it those years earlier?
I never thought about how big any film would get. All I wanted to do was do the best job I could do when I go on the set. I didn't care one line or 100 lines. I go there to do what I'm supposed to do as an actor. And when I taught for 10 years, and that's one of the things I would tell my students, you know, don't worry about how the film is, don't worry about the part you have. Go in and do the best job you can do, because the only reason why you got the job is because of you. You don't have to compete with no one, just be yourself.
And you get known most for what movies? They Live and Repo Man or what?
I get known for those, but I also get known for a film called Colors.
Great movie.
Yeah, yeah. And
It
that
was,
was another film where Dennis Hopper picked up the phone and told my agent that he got a part for me. So I didn't audition for that one either.
that's you know. Do you have any stories from Repo Man or from They Live or Colors that are interesting for people that might have loved those movies?
Let me see now. I would say from no, I don't, not really. But I do have one from a film I did called Walker, which you've never seen.
Never
Walker,
saw.
yeah, Walker. A guy named Alex Cox directed this movie. We shot this movie in Nicaragua.
Okay.
During the conflict. They were shooting a real war in the mountains. We were shooting a play war in the valley. Two guys came and was going to stay at my house while I was there. And my chauffeur picked them up and we were coming back from the airport. And one of the guys say, whose side are you on? Talking to the cab chauffeur. So were you on the Sandinista side or Contra side? And the guy said, neither side. He says, I'm on whoever will help my children grow up, go to college, and have a good life. And everybody froze because we were waiting to hear him tell about one or the other and what was going on and why. So that's not important to him. What was important to him is that his children have a good life.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, you know, it's weird, side, because, you know, Repo Man and They Live, mostly They Live in Colors, are so a lot about what's going on now.
Yeah.
You know, and some people say They Live really isn't because of that aliens, but it's not about, if you think about it, They Live was way before its time because it subliminally told you things. Like, you know, movies were subliminal at one time. You know, that's the reason why people would go and get up and go to the bathroom, or they go get popcorn, or they go get, you know, candy or whatever. And now in, like, you know, they say in signs that we see, there's subliminal messages, you know? So they were so far before their time. And then Colors, we're kind of going through that again right now in 2020.
Well, I had a professor tell me, he says, every movie that's made, we were talking about They Live, he says that 20 years from now, you'll start to see part of it appear.
And why do you think that is?
Because I believe that writers, artists, they get messages from God. And these messages to share among the people. And it don't have to be a big one, just little things. And that's what I think happens. I think every story has something that you need to know about your life and where life is going.
You know, I always have the joke that in our future, there's time travel. And people have time traveled back already. You know, because, I mean, how could The Simpsons be right 20 times, you know? You know, they said that our president now is going to be president. They showed a watch that you talk on. I mean, just all kinds of things The Simpsons did way before it happened. Even Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Future has a lot of stuff that's happened now, you know, that didn't happen, but they foretold it. And it's like, how could you not believe there isn't time travel? You know what I mean? Or there's that higher power, like you're talking about, God, that had to tell these people, write about this to show people the way. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And it's interesting when you get into the what's the word I'm looking for? philosophy of a movie like that. You know, I mean, like like not Congo, but what's that movie called? Um, where there's an outbreak, like Outbreak.
Oh yeah.
Outbreak foretold the outbreak we had before. You know, everybody was going crazy over it, and now you know we got COVID-19, and COVID-19 has been foretold. I mean, it's weird because like our quarter has a bat on it.
Yeah.
Sorry, weird. I don't understand. Weird. Or you can put a $20 bill up a certain way and it looks like a woman with a mask on.
Right.
Or my friend Kane Roberts, well, acquaintance Kane Roberts, he did an album back in 2019 and it has a woman with a mask on with spikes on it and then blood coming down her face. But that mask looks just like the mask that we wear now. You know, so I mean, it's really weird when you think about it, Si. And you've been around a lot longer than I have. So, you know, do you think about those things at all ever? Like that we're kind of foretelling our future in a way?
From the point the professor told me that those things will pop up, but somehow we have to find out. Somehow we have to be prepared for it. For instance, 1918, when they had the Spanish flu. Mm-hmm. You know, we went to a similar situation then.
Oh yeah.
It's been 100 years, and we're going through it again.
Now, what is your take on COVID-19? I'd like to know what your take is. As part of the older generation, what is your take on COVID-19?
I believe to happen. You know, I look at it, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, we all know that all things work together for good for those who love Christ Jesus and follow his purpose. This COVID-19 is bringing people together. It's changing the way we look at the police department. It's opening up new doors with the political department, it's even given looking at the president. How many presidents you know that they've gone through the kind of protesting they've done with him? A lot of good things are coming out. Things are going to change, you know, and we had to go through this to get there.
Well, you know, I thought at one time COVID-19 brought us together, but after George Floyd, it just tore our world apart. It's like we're in the midst of a civil war, you know? I mean, there's still rioting in Louisville, Kentucky. I live in Kentucky. I live in the hills of Kentucky, so I'm nowhere close to Louisville. But I hear about it. You know, I hear about all the rioting. I hear about all the rioting in Seattle and Portland and Tennessee and everywhere else, you know? And it's like, would Martin Luther King Jr. want this to happen? And it's like, I don't think that he'd want like the riots going on, but he'd want people to protest for what they feel their rights are. Am I correct about that or wrong?
Yeah, but I went on two protesting, one in Hollywood Boulevard and one in a little small suburb called Santa Clarita. Mm-hmm. And I watched and listened to the young people. And the young people are a team, they're together, they're looking for change. And this would have never happened if it hadn't been for the fact that George Floyd was killed. So his purpose, he had a purpose too. And his purpose is to help us to move to another level. When I was young, we dealt with Jim Crow. Well, by the 60s, Jim Crow was gone. Mm-hmm. So now we're in another situation with systemic racism. So we're going through a similar situation with that. So I'm saying in a few years, systemic racism will disappear too, just like Jim Crow disappeared. But it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have to go through this protest, and George Floyd wouldn't have passed. See, there's a reason for everything.
I can understand that. You know, I mean, do you think sometimes it goes too far though? Some of the stuff that's been going on, that's happened in the world, do you think it's gone a little too far at times?
The bigger something is on this end, the bigger something is on this end. So it's like a balance. You're gonna get the good and you're gonna get the bad, you know. So we just have to learn to deal with it. and eventually it will fade away.
It's a weird time period we're in. We live in a time period right now that those of us that weren't in the '60s when Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. were around and the Black Panthers and things like that. We weren't in that time period. I was born in '72, so I was too young, even if I was around to even know it. It's kind of like now I talk to people that worked with Elvis. Well, Elvis died in '77. I was only 5. So I was never around for that. And I look at my life as me 48 right now, and the only real big things that I feel like that happened in my life were the space shuttle, 9/11, and the two things that are happening in 2020, COVID-19 and George Floyd. Ironically, two things in 2020 have impacted my life more than anything else. And it's like everybody needs to be able to have freedom of speech. Everybody needs to have freedom of choice. Everybody needs to have equal rights. Every life matters. I mean, and I feel like some people just don't grasp that sometimes. It's like every life matters. Us that are on the other side, the majority of us, I'm not saying all of us because there ain't all of us, felt bad about what happened to George Floyd. I, for one, me and my wife, when we watched the video, cried. We are like, oh my God, I've never seen any man physically die at the hands of police officers. But there wasn't just one police officer white. There's a black police officer. There's a Chinese police officer. There's all different races of police officers involved in that. And it can't be said that it was a hate crime in the sense of black on white, because they were all involved in it. Everybody was involved in this, and it needs to be a worldly thing. People have to be pissed off. Not just black or white. It has to be everybody. Because when I watch that video, I'm telling you, I can't watch it. I can't. I know you've seen the video probably, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think to myself, have we really come to that way of life in 2020? That should be all in the past. That should be like, gays, straights, black, white, Chinese. It doesn't matter. Everybody should be together. And that's what COVID was doing, was bringing us together. Not to say COVID was bad, but man, how many people have actually spent time with their families before COVID? How many dads had to go to work and they never saw their kids grow up? But now they're saying, oh my God. Google just said that they probably never will have another thing where people go back into an office. They're all going to work from home. And you're right. Everything happens to change things. And that's what's happened.
Right.
The movie industry even. I just read a thing that Universal made a deal with somebody to have their stuff go on VOD earlier than when it was supposed to.
Yeah.
That reason's because we were stuck in a house, and movies that were released, they made billions of dollars off of, because nobody else didn't have anything else. Come on. I mean, I love Tiger King, but do you think Tiger King would have been as big as it is if we weren't stuck in the house?
Right.
I mean, they got to say, Netflix has got to say, man, thank you, COVID, because there was nobody who would probably watch Tiger King as much as they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Jim said, in a nutshell, there is no one alive today that was and or is a legal slave, nor is there anyone alive today that legally owns one. Black Lives Matter, hold on, there's a big long thing here. Black Lives Matter should take a backseat to protesting to the Native Americans who really got effed, I'm going to cuss, by the pale face. That is why today the Native Americans are less a slave to government, but the left, center, and right are, and they have been slaves the government for quite some time now. Since when it is plausible that the people who framed the government to serve the people, the majority of which pay the government officials, become subservient to the government itself. Antifa and Black Lives Matter are just a couple of tools in the government's arsenal to divide and conquer, and the majority blindly fall for it. Do you have anything to say to that at all?
That's just their opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And Ryan Gilkey said, "Hey, I loved you in those Alex Cox films and tape heads. I'm an old punk rocker." Laugh out loud.
Well, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Um, let's move on. So, you're still acting today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think, you know what? Well, I know that you're going to say it's changed, but do you think it's changed for the better since COVID, or do you think it's worse since COVID?
I think when COVID is over, you'll see the better. But what's happening now is you go to the movies, your wife go to the movie, it may cost you, at least in California, you spend $50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they start streaming these films, you spend $6.99.
Yeah. Well, you know, like Trolls and Scoob were $20. And that's the only way you could get it. Is you bought it. It wasn't on DVD or Blu-ray. It wasn't on 99 cents, whatever. And the movie companies have figured out, oh, we don't need movie theaters anymore. Heck, people got 55-inch TVs, big screen TVs. They much rather sit at home and eat some popcorn.
That's right. I mean, and the young people watch movies on their cell phone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what I was going to say about, movies today, the last 2 weeks before this, you know what the number one movie in the United States was?
What?
Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Before that was Gremlins. Because they're taking old movies, and because theaters that want to stay open have no new movies.
Right.
They had the movies that were supposed to come out in like April, like Nice Out, Bloodshot, and I think another movie was one of the movies they were playing that was from March or April when they shut down. But all these old movies are coming back, like They Live is being played, and Night of the Comet, and all these other old movies. Ryan said nothing beats the theater experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, but how old he is, how long he's been doing watching movies, the
Yeah.
young people will have a different experience. And that's how we have to look at it, because we passed this point. Now it's for them. They're the ones who watch it at home. They're the ones who see it on the cell phone. This is their world.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I've got a daughter that's 13, man, and her phone is connected to her. I think it's part of her body now. I really do. But I'm the same way. If I don't have my phone, I don't have internet, I go crazy because I'm always talking to people to get interviews. I'm always talking to people to do this or do that. And I mean, living in this time period, and then being in the 70s when there was no cell phones, do you think that you could digress back to that time period without a cell phone if it happened?
Oh no, I like it where we are now, and I'm waiting for it to continue. When I was 8, 9 years old, there was a TV show called Captain Video.
Okay.
And Captain Video, they had like Dick Tracy phones. They could travel from one planet to the next planet. This is my favorite show. And I'm looking at life now is that we're getting close to Captain Video. I may not be old enough to make it, but my children might have a chance to go on the moon or go to Mars. And I look forward to it. I get excited listening to them talk and watching those kind of movies.
Ryan said, I'm 50, old and crusty, laugh out loud.
If I'm old and what?
He said, I'm 50, old and crusty, laugh out loud.
Oh, no, he's not. He's still young. He got a good 50 years to go.
How old did you turn this year?
I'm 79.
79. Wow. You're just 31 years old when I was born. That's
Yeah.
something, ain't it?
Well, I plan to live to be 100.
Live to be 100 at least.
Yeah, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
My grandfather was 105. His mother was 112.
112. Wow. So you
100.
figure 100's a good place for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing these days as far as acting?
At the present time now, as I'm in the process of directing 3 features.
Oh.
Once the pandemic stops, we can continue. I've done everything in the industry but direct a feature film.
What are the movies? Can you tell us or tell us anything about them?
No, we're not allowed to talk about it. We had to fill out one of those NDA forms.
NDAs.
Yeah.
Brian said, "Looking good, man."
Thank you.
Now I gotta go back to Posse, man. How did that happen that you wrote a script and Hollywood said, "Hey, we want to do your movie"? How'd that come about?
I was in Nicaragua, and a guy from New York that I knew was in another film with me. He came in. He said, "Si, is this a film about your grandparents?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm just in this movie." Oh, so then the producer says, "You got a film about your grandparents?" I said, "Yeah, I got a film called Posse about my 2 grandfathers. I combined their story." He says, "I want to read it." So I got him a copy, and that's where it all started.
Did you have any hand in any of the movie at all, as far as who played parts or anything like that?
No. That went all to the director. He had a decision because I was only in the beginning of the movie, and I wasn't in the movie at all. And the producer told the director, he says, he wrote the movie. He should be in it too. He's an actor. So I ended up doing a part right at the beginning.
Wow. And if I'm not mistaken, and Mario Van Peebles the lead in that?
Yeah, he directed it.
Now, so he directed it.
Yeah, he starred in it and directed it.
So he's the one that read the script.
No,
Somebody else did.
The producer read the script. Yeah.
That's a pretty big defining moment for Mario Van Peebles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And before this, was there any movies with like an all-black cast and cowboys and stuff? Was there anything like that?
Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte did one 20 years before then. There was several. There was several done. Yeah.
Why do you think that it was such a success? Compared to relatively to other movies. Because I think at that time period there wasn't a lot of Western stuff coming out, was there?
No, it wasn't. So it was something that the young people hadn't seen. It wasn't aware of. Now, that's what helped the movie.
And to this day, has it got a Blu-ray release yet?
Yeah.
Si, how did you get connected to Cox and end up in those iconic punk films?
Well, Cox was a student at UCLA when I went to do the student film. He was one of the guys I met. After the student film was over, he told me, he says, "I'm going to call you within 6 months." I was okay. You get this all the time. And 6 months later, I get a call, and he wanted me to read the script and see if it was something I wanted to do. And that's how I ended up doing Repo Man.
Do you like that culture of music?
Yeah, I'm very eclectic when it comes to music.
Mm-hmm.
My life started off in music. My father was a gospel singer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so from the time I was 4 years old, I sung. I sung at church. I sung on street corners and did doo-wop. I sung in social affairs and nightclubs. All I wanted to do was be a singer. And I started recording when I was 16 years old. Yeah, so, and I had
my mother was a Christian singer too.
Yeah.
And my mother actually was in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, so.
Oh, okay.
Her record was catalog in the catalog of gospel music.
Yeah.
And so we weren't very far apart. You know what I mean? As far as music wise. I remember touring in a tour bus with my dad and mom. My dad would preach, and my mom and her band would play for like God from the age of like 2 to like 9. You know, I mean, it was always in a tour bus. And the one thing I remember most, is a lot of black churches, and they interested me so much because a white church compared to a black church is totally different.
Right.
Black church, man, oh my goodness, it's just so, I'm getting cold chills thinking about it because it was just so much energy, so much just, everything about a black church. And then after that, we got to eat. So
Yeah.
I was all about that, But I remember that, man, growing up, uh, for some reason, my dad was always booked in a black church. I just remember that a lot. And I loved it, and the one thing I thought was ironic was everybody still had a white Jesus as a picture. And I'd only been, if I remember right, I'm 48 now. I only remember going to a couple of black churches where there's a black Jesus. I remember asking my dad, why is there a black Jesus? Because I never knew. And he had told me that that's just somebody's illustration of what Jesus looked like from, the books and everything that everybody read. And he said, actually, Jesus should have been a lot darker skinned than what the white pictures are because of where he came from. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that's true, right, Si?
That's true. And something else too. I've been halfway around the world, and every country, their Jesus is similar to the people in that country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And even the picture itself
Yeah.
is totally different? Wow.
Yeah.
What's the craziest one you saw?
I believe it was Spain. There's a little country, little town rather, that's all communistic. And right on the other side, there was this little town that had a picture of not Jesus as a baby, and it was quite different. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And did you ever see with in Jamaica, did he have like the braids and stuff in his hair in Jamaica or anything?
No, I didn't see that in Jamaica. I saw a picture of it here in California.
In California.
Yeah.
I think the best movie I ever seen about a Jesus picture was Born in East LA. You ever seen Born in East LA with Cheech?
I remember saying that. Yeah.
And he keeps on thinking that the Jesus picture's talking to him. One of the funniest scenes ever in the movie,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I think that we need a lot more of that in our life now. I think that a lot more of that. Me personally, I don't go to church, and it's been hard for me to believe in God a lot in years. But I think that we need something like that right now. I think that's something that take away rebel flags, take away American flags, take away the president, take away all this other stuff. Just one thing that we can all agree on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but see, in the Bible it says that we all come short of the glory of God,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have our own choices.
Mm-hmm.
So all of us will have to go in the direction we feel is correct. Now, like with me, I've been in churches all my life. I've been a Christian all my life. As a matter of fact, I sung at churches in Cincinnati, Ohio, right outside of Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I spent my summers in Cincinnati, half the summer in Cincinnati, Ohio, and half the summer in Atlanta, Georgia. And all my uncles, they were ministers and bishops, and so I've been in church, all my life. And we used to have not retreats, revivals, tent revivals that we would go to and just sing at those. I personally feel that the only reason why I'm sitting here talking to you now is by the grace of God, because that's the only reason I'm an actor. I wasn't trained like everyone else and built up to be this. I wasn't caught up in wanting to be an actor. It all just happened. It was all by the grace of God. And grace means something that is given to you, not something you have done to get it. See. And once you have it, then you train for it, See, like I tell my students, God give us these gifts, but it's up to us to nurture them, See. So I just believe that that's the only reason why I do what I do.
And ironically, in They Live, you play a man of God.
Yeah. I played ministers, and I taught a Bible study for Christian entertainers for 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
have you ever worked for Tyler Perry?
No, I haven't. I've auditioned for him several times, but I've never gotten hired.
I think he would have been great in the House of Pain.
That was a good show. Yeah.
They're actually bringing it back. I think it's going to be House of Pain again, not the Pain.
Yeah.
I think they were planning on working on that, or they did before COVID. And they're bringing back House of Pain instead of Pains. I kind of like the Pains a little better than House of Pain, to be honest with you. He's such a funny guy.
Tyler Perry is a talented guy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
He in a story like him, if it weren't for Lionsgate taking a chance, there'd been no Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Perry was selling stuff out of the back of his car. And now, what's he got? 7 or 8 TV shows now, and a movie.
He got his own studio.
The Walking Dead uses his studio in Atlanta. Everybody uses his studio in Atlanta.
Yeah. And
it's just amazing because it's a success story that everybody can look at. Like Sam Walton. Sam Walton had a dream of having stores and was actually a pretty good guy. I've read his book. And the worst part of things like that, is when somebody passes away, like Sam Walton, and their dream, or Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders, it just becomes nothing really. It just becomes he's gone. His essence isn't even there anymore. Like Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's KFC now. It's not Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
They shoot their chickens with stuff to make them bigger, and it's all. It's like that's one thing that I hope that when I die, my grandkids or my great grandkids continue doing what I did and love what I do, instead of somebody taking it and going, okay, well, this is worth like $2 billion. Let's sell it. You understand what I mean? And it becomes something else. Like with you, you've laid a groundwork of all these films you made. And your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren are going to say that my grandfather or my great-grandfather or my great-grandfather, look what he did, And that's all we can ask for in life, right?
That's right.
Like I said, man, it's more of a privilege for me to talk to you because, like I said, They Live was like, is my favorite movie. And it's like, I always want it to be a different outcome at the end, but I know it's not. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And I bet you there's a lot of people like that are going to watch this go, you know what? I always hoped there was another outcome. I got to ask you, is Roddy Piper cool to work with?
Yeah. He was fairly new to acting, so he was cool to work with. But see, a lot of being cool to work with depends on your director. And John Carpenter is a wonderful director. He's a down-to-earth guy. He allow you to create. He don't tell you how to do it. He allow you to create. And if there's something that's not working, he'll ask you a question. So you have to think on it and go back and do it again.
Did you ad-lib any of your stuff during that movie?
I'm sorry to hear you.
Did you do any of your stuff like that, or was it all rote for you?
No, he allowed us to do that.
Like the saying goes, I come here to chew chewing gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of chewing gum.
That was in the script.
That is one of the greatest things ever said in a movie.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. I mean, you got T-shirts, you got, you know, do you get to go to, before COVID, did you go to a lot of conventions or anything? Did you do conventions?
I only went to one convention.
Ever?
Yeah. Um, my friends laugh at me. They say I'm just too humble. I don't play the star role.
Oh.
I just like the fact that I'm capable and able to work in the industry. You know, that's why when I wrote my book, I said the journey of a character actor. You know, I know I've starred in several films and I've been the lead in several films, but I still consider myself a character actor.
And what would you say is your favorite movie ever to do?
Straight to Hell.
Now, what is that?
So I'd say a Western that Alex Cox wrote.
Okay.
And I had the lead in it. Straight to Hell. Joe Strummer was in it. Quite a few punk rock singers were in it. Yeah.
And when did this come out?
Oh, it came out in 86, 87, something like that. Yeah. I did a song with Elvis Costello. He was in it. Yeah.
Did you, being in that punk rock scene, did you actually go and witness these guys and shows and stuff?
I went with them. I even sung. I sung with a punk rock group.
Wow. That on video?
I don't know. It probably is.
Who are some of your favorite punk rock groups to work with?
Huh. I just play with many of them, but none of them I would consider favorite.
Really?
Because I come from a rhythm and blues doo-wop gospel act.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more intense than what you're used to.
Yeah, and this was all new to me. This was, punk rock was all new to me when we did Repo Man.
Wow, man. That's amazing you got put into that scene, you know? It's kind of like Patrick Swayze. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but he would donate money to a program for young guys that wanted to be rappers to learn how to rap and how to get out of the situation they were in. That's the reason why the term Swayze come about, because Patrick Swayze was very influential in that, in that. And I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's a true story. He put millions of dollars into that, and young rap artists had coined the phrase Swayze, and that's the reason why that was coined that way. So it's weird how your life takes you on a journey. You never thought you'd be in the punk rock scene.
Nope.
And you're never going to be able to live it down. So you might as well embrace it, right?
Yeah, and one of the magazines I'm in, they call me the king of cult.
King of what?
Cult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, king of cult films. Yeah, because of all the punk rock films I did.
And wow, that's just crazy. Now, are those punk rock films? Are they available on Blu-ray or DVD now? Are they available on digital to watch on demand? Do you know anything about them like that?
No, I don't. But 9 times out of 10, you can go on Google and it'll tell you.
Yeah. See, I didn't research you because I don't like to research people. I like people telling me the story. That way, I go, really, you were in punk rock films? I didn't know that. I knew that you were in Repo Man, and I knew you were in Colors. I knew you were in They Live. I had no clue you wrote Posse. I didn't even know you wrote a book. When did your book come out?
November of last year.
And they can get that on Amazon probably, right?
Yeah, or either go to lulu.com.
Lulu?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where you self-publish.
Yeah, lulu.com, yeah.
Now, how can people reach out to you if they want you to sound like a Repo Man VHS or Laserdisc or soundtrack? How can they reach out to you?
Normally, they just go to Facebook.
Have you had a lot of people ask you for that type of stuff?
Yeah, I've signed a lot of autographs. I had people to have me to sign their books in Los Angeles.
Did you do a book signing?
Yeah.
How'd that go for you?
Went real well. Yeah.
And you have a website or anything, or just Facebook?
It's a Facebook. I lost my website. I went in the hospital, and when I came out, they had cut it off.
I hope
Now,
you're okay.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I just had
Good.
my hip replaced.
Okay, good. I'm not saying it's good you had to have your hip replaced, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm
So
kind of sitting here. Everybody's gonna watch this and go, "What the hell's wrong with him?" I'm kind of sitting here with sweaty palms, man, because it's like I got to meet Roddy Piper in 2010, and my daughter got pictures with him. And he was just the nicest guy. And I'm a huge wrestling fan. I mean, wrestling is my life. I love it. You know, I love indie wrestling. I got to go to WrestleMania in 2018. I was planning on going to Tampa this year, and COVID killed that. And LA this next year is where WrestleMania is supposed to be. So hopefully I'll be in LA eating street tacos, you know. Um, but I never got to talk to Roddy Piper like that, you know. He's one guy, and then Brian Keith is so busy. You know, he works on the Tyler Perry show.
oh, you tell Keith David.
Keith David, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Keith David. Yeah, he's on the Tyler Perry show. And, you know, he ain't got no time for nobody because he's so busy. Well, not right now, he's not busy, but you know how that goes. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. He's a regular guy. He's down to earth.
I have to say, that is the best fight scene ever in a movie.
Yeah.
Ever in a movie. Did you get to watch any of that fight scene?
Oh yeah.
So you were there for a lot of the taping
Oh yeah.
and everything?
Yeah. I had nothing else to do, and there was no reason to be at home.
So did they now, just for young people to understand this, did they record that in sections and then piece it together?
They shot it all one piece. Then they turn around and did, and then they turn around and did sections of it, pieces of it. Yeah.
Because today's films or TV's made in pieces. Like
Yeah.
this section's made, and then he put it together, and then this section's made. Have you done movies like that where sections are made instead of a full run through?
More TV shows than movies.
More TV shows?
Yeah, more TV movies. Yeah.
What's some of the TV shows you've been on?
My favorite TV show of all times is a show came on a couple years ago called Pushing Daisies.
Oh, great show.
And I was the corner on it.
So you were in there quite a bit.
Yeah, and interesting thing about that, back to something else we talked about, words.
Mm-hmm.
I had to audition for that. And I had one line. So I walk in there, and there's about 10 of us in there. So I go in, I do my one line, and this is my one line. Uh-huh. That's all it was.
And how many episodes did you do?
12.
12?
Yeah.
And was it a weird thing being a corner on a TV show?
No. Now, I wrote a book called 60 Questions, The Busy Actor's Guide to Human Characters.
Mm-hmm.
When I get a character, I sit down and I answer these 60 questions. And what that does is put me in the place where I need to be. So I'm not the actor doing it. I am the corner.
Oh, I see. Let me ask you this. What about the pictures on the back of your wall there? I see there's some movie posters and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are posters and pictures of films that I'm in.
What's the Japanese looking one?
Oh, that's Searcher 2.0. That was a film shot by Alex Cox. And I was one of the leads in it.
Were you a badass in it?
Do you remember Searchers that John Wayne did years ago?
Yeah.
It was based around it, and it was shot in the exact same location that we did Searcher 2.0.
Now, are you a badass in it?
I'm a badass, yeah.
What about the other one beside it? Is that another movie poster?
That's a play. For 17 years, every other year, I would go to Shreveport, Louisiana, and do a play at the college there.
Oh, okay, cool. I think the coolest thing was when I went to WrestleMania to go to New Orleans.
Ah.
New Orleans, you've been there probably a million times, right? It's such a eclectic place. It's like you can be on Bourbon Street, and you can turn down this other street. It's totally different vibe. and then turn down this other street, and there's like jazz. And then go down this way, and then there's like people doing like plays in the, and let me tell you, wow, the funerals they have, like the
Yeah.
big processions of funerals and the partying they do, and then like weddings, and I mean, if you ain't been to New Orleans, people need to go. It is one of the most amazing places on this earth.
You forgot one thing.
What's that?
The food is delicious.
Oh yeah, the food, man. That's the first time listen, let me tell you a story, Si. Okay. So, I've never been there before, okay? And my wife's like, I'm not ready for seafood yet. Let's find a steak place. So we get this guy on Uber. He become our Uber driver all the time. He's from like Russia or someplace. His name's like Vladimir or something. I can't remember what his name is. He's like, what do you all want to go eat? I said, steak. He takes us down to the highest steak place there is. Okay, you've probably been there before. I can't remember what it's called right now. You know some of the steak places there that's really expensive?
No.
Anyway, so we get in this steak place, okay? I've got a wrestling shirt on and a pair of shorts. Of course, my wife looks classy. She always does. I look like a slob. We walk in there. Okay, we're already in there. Okay, so we can't turn around. Okay, you're in that situation where you can't turn around. Walk in. Maitre d' comes and grabs both of us and pulls the table out, takes and put the thing across your leg, the napkin or whatever, and we sit down. Okay, you're already invested. You can't get out. You know what I'm talking about. You can't get out. So they bring us the menu. And I'm used to like, steak with potatoes and salad. Everything's different. Okay, your steak was $60 to $80. Your baked potato was like $20. I'm looking at this, I'm like, the only cheapest thing on it is a Bloody Mary. So when in Rome, you eat and drink like Romans, right?
Right.
Our bill was like, I think $200. But, what an experience it was. It's like, we never been there to a place where you have to get up and go to the bathroom. A lady comes and escorts you to the bathroom and has the thing for you to wipe your hands off. When you come back out, I'm like, I'm in like the Twilight Zone, man. Have you ever had those kind of experiences before, ever?
Not in St. Louis, other places.
But what experience like that have you had before?
I was in Cuba.
Cuba.
Yeah, and they had someone inside the bathroom, waiting for you when you come out to wash your hands, so you can check your face and so forth. Yeah, I did in Cuba and someplace else I can't remember, but I was in Cuba in '88.
That's amazing, ain't it?
Yeah, I went to a film festival.
Oh man, that was right in the middle of the war, right, with the Cubans?
Yep.
How'd that go off?
Castro invited us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him?
Oh yeah, we had lunch with him.
Was he a nice guy?
Really nice. He remind you of a typical grandfather who tell jokes. And he told his jokes about Catholics and American politicians.
The funny thing, Si, is I don't remember a time, maybe when Obama ran and Hillary ran or whatever. I've got friends from all over the place. They talk more shit about our president and the people running for president than we do.
Right.
And they ain't got no skin in the game,
Mm-hmm.
They're like, how do you put up with these idiots? It's like, well, do you vote for Joe Biden, who is senile and isn't going to stay in office? Or do we vote for the president we have? I choose to vote for the president we have because we're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people don't, and that's their choice. But, I mean, some of my friends are just like, God, we thought our people were bad. Prime ministers and stuff like that. And it's like, I can't remember a president, like you said, that has been ridiculed and talked about as much as he. Even Obama. You know, the one thing that we thought when Obama got in office and we voted him in, oh, he'll be shot in the first 2 weeks. He lasted 8 years. I'm like, isn't it? I mean, you go back, you know, John F. Kennedy. You were alive when John F. Kennedy got shot.
Yeah.
You know, and you were alive when Tom Brady got shot and Ronald Reagan. And, you know, you were around for all those things. Did you think Trump would get shot by now?
Well, with the type of people we have in the United States, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised that no one has.
Were you surprised that Obama didn't get killed?
No, I didn't expect him to get killed.
Really?
No, mm-mm. No.
Hey, Trump might have another 4 years. You never know what will happen.
That's true. That's true.
You never know what will happen. But I mean, these guys got a lot of security, man. These guys will take a bullet for a president and go down as a martyr, like, you know, I saved the president, you know. But back then, I mean, when John F. Kennedy got killed, how old were you when John F. Kennedy got killed?
Oh, wow. I was out of the Navy, so I had been in my late 20s.
It was shocking, wasn't it?
I was crying.
Do you know why you were crying?
Yeah, because it hurt me that they killed John F. Kennedy. He was a good man. He accomplished a lot of projects that helped African Americans.
Exactly, that's true. I mean, his friend was Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I'm asking you because you lived in a time period, do you think that they got killed for the same reason?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Sometimes things happen for no reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just something they can do. You know, like the guy who shot Kennedy. I can't think of his name now.
Jack Ruby.
Who?
No, not Jack Ruby. He shot Oswald. Oswald. Jack Ruby shot Oswald.
Yeah. What was his purpose? You know, just something to do to make history.
Do you think he actually was the only one that shot Kennedy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's been so many people say it was Jackie who killed him. There's been so many different people have different theories about how that man died.
That's back to opinions. We all have our opinions.
Yeah, you know, there was a great show that came out on Hulu that Stephen King and J.J. Abrams did. Did you see that on Hulu about Kennedy? Where the guy has to go, he's in a, this guy tells him about he can go back in time, and he wants him to go back and save Kennedy and see how the world is. But he has to stay and go through all the years leading up to Kennedy assassination. And he like becomes friends with Oswald, and it shows all that. You should watch that sometime on Hulu. It's called.
That should be an interesting movie.
It's a series. It's called 11/99/49. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll send you a link. I'll send you the name. But it's so interesting because everyone wonders. You know, everyone wonders how would it be if Kennedy lived? How would it have been if Jimi Hendrix lived, or Jim Morrison, or you know, Martin Luther King Jr. or whoever it is. And it's so interesting that they put these shows together that shows how it might. And let me tell you, in the end, it ain't the way you think it's going to be. Or it might be the way you think it is. I don't know. For me, it was a shock. But, you know, that's the thing about, like you were talking about movies. You know, I like a lot of indie movies compared to major movies because indie movie makers get to make what they want to make. They don't have to go by what Hollywood wants. And there's no holds barred, and there's no, you know, okay, you can't do that because we're not going to pay you to do it, you know? It's more like, okay, we give the money, we know what we're getting into, let's do it. You know, and I think a lot of big movies get caught into that cutting room. You know, like the new Star Wars, for instance, or the Star Wars before. There's 3 directors, and Ron Howard had to come in and finish it. Well, when you've already had 2 directors that record stuff, and then you come in and you try to fix it, what are you going to get? You know, it's like my friend always said, you can't polish a turd.
That's true.
You know, and have you been on those kind of movies where things happen like that, where a director leaves or a producer leaves, and you have to change stuff and do reshoots and all that kind of stuff?
No, I haven't.
You probably heard the horror stories though.
Yeah, the closest one to that would have been the film that we did called Walker.
Walker. Why did it not come out?
It never came out.
Why did it not come out?
It was blackballed.
For what reason?
Something to do with Reagan.
And is it bootlegged or anything?
No, it's not.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever think it'll see the light today?
No.
Was it a good movie?
Great movie. And the people who did see it all say the same thing. It's the best movie Alex Cox ever did.
Now, for people who don't know who he is, who is he?
He's a writer. He's a writer director of Repo Man, Sid and Nancy, Straight to Hell, Searcher 2.0.
Oh, so you worked with him quite a bit.
I did 7 films with him.
Did you do Sid and Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you're part of that too.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning what a legend I'm talking to. I just wanted to talk to you about They Live. I'm like, tell me stories about They Live. Tell me about Roddy Piper. You know, tell me about this, you know. And now I'm sitting here going, holy crap, you're giving me the Marky Ramone complex.
Yeah.
I interviewed Marky Ramone, okay? I saw him at a convention and said, hey, can I interview? He said, I'll give you 10 minutes. Come to my hotel room. I sit down with him. I talked to him for 3.5 hours. I'm a nervous wreck. Hands are sweaty, palms, but then I see his ring on his finger, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ring, and I get really weirded out, okay? So you're giving me that complex, man. It's a good thing, but, you know, you give me that complex. So people can get a hold of you on Facebook if they want anything signed. Do you have your own pictures that you sign for people or anything? Or do they have to send you stuff to get something signed?
Send me stuff.
Send you stuff, okay. Well, I'm going to get me one of those They Live masks offline, you know, the alien mask.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to have you sign it for me.
All right.
Because how many guys are still alive from that movie? Do you know? Do you keep in contact with any of them?
No, I don't.
You just do a movie and move on, huh?
Move on.
What do you got coming out in the future as far as acting? Do you have anything you're acting in the future? Except for the movies you're directing?
There's a movie coming out I'm in called Chocolate. As a matter of fact, one of my former students wrote it, directed it, and produced it. So I'm waiting for it to come out.
What is it about? Do you say?
I can't say.
Another NDA.
Yeah.
Them damn NDAs, man. I swear to God.
Yeah, they do a lot of those now.
Do you remember the days when there was no NDA?
Yeah.
Which one do you like better?
I understand why they do the NDA.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I've seen where 2 films come out that were quite similar.
Which 2 would those be? Can you tell me?
No, they're still in the NDA, you know, but that's the idea. You know?
Oh, they're still in NDA. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I know that Walking Dead, they sign NDAs there, and if they let anything in on The Walking Dead, they're fined $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that how we're talking here? $1 million? NDA?
I don't know if it's $1 million, but it's best to just keep your mouth shut.
So much they make you broke, right?
Yeah.
Well, Si, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
And